So, good evening.
Hi,
This is
good.
for uh, hi. Welcome to Fun This Time podcast. And can you tell us about you? Can you introduce yourself and tell us your story, your why?
Sure. Thank you, Niurka, for inviting me today. I'm so honored to be here. I love watching your show and I'm so glad that we connected.
Thank
So
you.
I'm
Same.
yes. So I'm Nelia Hutt. I'm the founder of Travel Live Give website. It started off as a personal blog. I'm also the host of the Giving Starts With You podcast, which just started middle of June. So I'm fairly new at it. I'm enjoying it very much. And we also created a giving back project called the Ukulele Project, which we did in Guatemala this year. So
That's pretty cool.
yeah, it was so much fun. It changed my life. It's so, when you give, you always receive more than what you give.
Right.
And it's just for me, it's sometimes it can be a selfish thing because I do it because it helps me heal, but it also helps others. It's like a win-win. And I want to do more of that. So that's part of the reason why I became an entrepreneur. So yeah, so I work a 40-hour, week as a medical assistant, like an office manager in a specialist office. And then I work 40 hours a week on my business. So, it's a lot, but I love it. And I choose to work that much because I enjoy it. You don't have to do the same. It's
Right.
crazy. Um, but when you're doing a side hustle, I just want people to know they don't have to quit their jobs and make these big risks. Just you can take small steps and still have some income coming in and still do things that you're passionate about. Do you feel the same way, Neurika?
Yeah, I think it's important to have a safety net.
Mm,
At least that covers the main bills, right? The
yes,
shelter, the food, the basic needs that you need. Because if you worry about those, you can really focus on anything else.
exactly.
Um, so I think that having that security, and it can be, and you can get that security in a lot of different ways. You can have a part-time job. You can have work. Get your dream um, bill while you using somebody else's money, or it can be right.
Yes.
Oh, it can be an allowance or something that you receive that help you
Mhm.
with that basic need until you feel comfortable enough to and
Exactly.
done. Let me go 100%.
Yeah, and you can do both, and a lot of people feel like they have to give up one to do the other, and you don't have to. So if you're in a position like me where you can't, then you don't, right? So I've always felt like I kind of didn't really belong anywhere. My dad passed away at 59, and this was 15 years ago. So I was 33. I was pregnant with my son, and I was sort of his caregiver. And he died of cancer. And, for 12 years after that, I suppressed, like I tried to protect myself. And so I said, well, I'm not going to think about it. I'm going to be strong for everybody else. I'm going to be strong for my little brother, although it wasn't that little. He was 29, right? And for my mom. And I have to think that I'm pregnant, and I just I just had a miscarriage before. So I said, well, I really have to remember this, less stress, all these things. Next thing I knew, 12 years had gone by and my life was a disaster. So I was diagnosed with anxiety, depression, PTSD, panic disorder. It was just terrible. And even though I had all these people around me who loved me, I always felt misplaced. I always felt lonely, like I had to do things on my own, although it wasn't true. It was just my perception. So fast forward, those 12, 13 years brought me to 2019. And I was just tired of being tired. So I said, I can't live like this forever. Um, So what am I going to do? So after 10, 12 years, I went to grief counseling. I tried all these things, which is crazy, right? Because people go when something happens. They don't wait that long, so don't do what I did. Bad idea. So to make a long story, a little shorter, um, going back, my son, who is now 14, when he was 6, he started his own homeless drive. And it's called Evan's Loot Bags for the Homeless. And he was
Oh,
6. And yeah, he was 6 years old. And he just said, hey, Mom, and I'm in Canada, so it was dead winter. And he said, Mom, do homeless people get invited to birthday parties? And I said, no. And here in Canada, when you go to a birthday party, they give you a loot bag in return, which is sort of like a gift. So it's called a loot bag. So he says, well, starting tomorrow, I want to give out loot bags to the homeless people. Because even if though I don't invite them to my birthday, I think they could still get a little gift since they don't go to birthday parties. So I thought, okay, go to bed. It's 6, it's 10 o'clock. It's the middle of the winter. There's a huge snowstorm. The power is going to go out. Just go to bed. And the next morning he woke me up at 6 o'clock in the morning and he said, you ready to go? Let's go to Walmart. I was like, what are you talking about? I'm sleepy. Like I didn't understand. I was not an early riser. Anyways, 8 years later, we're still doing it. We still go out every November. Now it's grown from just me and him to several families. It has, we have about 30 kids who come and volunteer. They all come over. We get tents and food, and the kids make handwritten notes and all these things. And we converse with these people. We actually, we go out with them and we do several things with them. So the reason why I'm telling you the story is because my son taught me about giving at a young age. So even though I went to grief counseling and I went to therapy and saw a psychiatrist just to see, because I would panic, I would lose my breath, I would feel like I would be choking, I would have nightmares, I would have all these things happen. But those things didn't really help me. What helped me was I realized that when I gave to other people, it made me feel better.
yes.
When I did something and took the attention off of myself and how I was feeling and just distracted myself, it helped me feel not only better about myself, but it made me love myself. It made me start to face the things that I was going through. And so little by little, I learned how to deal with all of these things. And today, I know that I can help people in the same situation, people who suffer from some of those things, not have to make the same mistakes I made, not have to go through so many years of not sleeping, of crying, of holding these feelings in. And I want to teach them that and not have them waste all this time that I lost. I didn't know those skills. So fast forward to March, just before the pandemic, my family and I decided to create a project called the Ukulele Project. So we created two things that bonds our family together. So one is giving to other people, and the other one is music. So my son is a professional pianist. He plays in a band and earns he does make money off of it. And he was 13, so he's doing pretty good. My husband plays the guitar, and I play and I sing a bit. And we said, what can we do that we can carry to another country? And what can we bring? We cannot bring money because I don't have enough money to help all the people down there. It's great. Like it's a need that will never go away. I'm not a physician, so I can't help with like medical, help patients. I can't, because a lot of people do mission trips that are medical. So I said, how about if I help their mental health? How about if I could maybe make them smile? How about if I could take their mind off being hungry and just connect with people and just know that they're not forgotten? That's my thing. I want people to feel that they're seen, that they're listened to, that they're validated. It's very important to me that people don't feel like they're alone, because I know what that
Beautiful.
feels like. Yeah. And so that's what we did. We created the two things that we love the most. We put them together, and we went to Guatemala. It was so beautiful. I learned so much. I grew so much. I'm still in touch with those people. And we went and we connected with a company there, called Fundamaya Canada. 100% of the money that you send goes there. I've seen it. Um, a lovely lady from out in Australia who went on a trip there and decided to move there 30 years ago, started it. And she's actually been on my podcast. And I'm in touch with them every week. And we're starting some projects down there to see how we can help, you know. But the experience, even for my son, was so beautiful. Um, Sometimes we make assumptions being in Canada and the United States and all these rich countries that people just want a handout, you know? And it's not about that. They want us to come and teach them skills so that they can sustain. And they work hard, you know? So there's a lot of misunderstandings and things. So what we did was we went to three preschools down there in some of the poorest slums, and we played for the kids. So we wrote some, I don't speak Spanish, okay? Like, I'm Portuguese, but I learned enough.
Close. Close.
It's close, but it's not the same.
No.
I can tell you, it is not. It's definitely not the same. So although I could pick up a couple of words, most people there actually spoke a language called Kichikel, not Spanish. So even if that wouldn't have helped me, but so we learned to play the ukuleles because we didn't know how to play them. That was the one instrument we never tried. We learned to speak Spanish for a few months before we went. We got a little bit done, you know, Duolingo goes a long way. And we just did it, you know, we raised some money and we flew down there, and it was amazing. So we put on a concert for them. We left instruments there. And so we started a music program in each of the schools. So they now have instruments in the schools. We brought some shakers so that some of the kids that didn't have ukuleles could have like a percussion instrument. We have beautiful pictures of all the children, and they didn't even know why we were there. But as soon as they saw us, they would run down, you know, and come and hug everybody. Like, you know, no worries, you know, just so beautiful and open-hearted. And we actually planned to go back July the 1st, but we got back just 2 days before COVID hit and the planes shut down. And a part of me was angry for two reasons. You know why?
Why?
One reason was because I wish, darn it, you know, 2 days. Why couldn't I have gotten stuck down there? I would have loved to be able to be there and be able to help. And then another thing that really upset me was when I got back, and you go from people being grateful for having nothing to, you know, Canada and the States, where I feel some people are not grateful. And everybody was complaining about having to be home because of the pandemic. And it had just started. You know, we were 2 weeks in. And all I could think of was all the people that I had just left that were holding white flags outside their homes to say, I'm starving, bring me some food. So they had just started with dengue fever when we came. Some of the kids we met were sick. So COVID was kind of on the bottom of the list for them, in a way, because they were just hungry. They couldn't work. They couldn't, you know, and so it made me angry when I came home because I could see things in a different way. I want people to be more grateful, you know? So part of what I'm doing, what I would like to do is, one of the main reasons I chose to be an entrepreneur, is because I want to make a difference. And I feel like I need to get my message out, and that through my pain, I could perhaps help somebody else. So that's the main long answer to a question of why. It's passion driven, absolutely 100%. And I wouldn't have it any other way. If it wasn't passion driven, I don't think I would be interested in the long run.
I think it's not a long answer. I think it's the perfect answer. Because that's what it's all about.
one
There's
thing
a
led to
difference.
another, you know.
I believe there's a difference between being a business woman or man and being entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs are driven by feelings.
Mm,
It's not so much about the money. The money is part of it, but it's not the main goal. It's about
no,
making an impact.
but you
You
do
know,
need to make some money
so
to be able to make a bigger impact. So that's the next step once you get going, because you do need to,
right.
you know, but it's not the main. You're absolutely right. It's not the thing that
You,
drove me.
you can't have to think like both. You have to think. You have to have the idea and the vision. That's what entrepreneurship comes. But then you have to build the business foundations to
Mm,
make it to make your ideas a reality. So you
yeah,
have to live on both worlds. Um, but
absolutely. So much to learn as we're discovering, you know, there's so much to do, so much to learn. And it can get overwhelming sometimes. But if you
mhm.
remember, like I know for me, if I remember why and who it is that I want to help on the other end, it's easy. I always find the energy. I always find the strength, no matter how tired I am, no matter how frustrated I am. Um, you know, so I'm just starting my entrepreneurship journey. I'm writing a book that will hopefully be done in the next couple of months. And it's about the story of the relationship between me and my father, for part of the book. The rest of the book is about how I overcame certain things and how my opinion about life has changed, how I think differently now. Um, it's about life being short. It's going to have some tips and some strategies for people, to be able to help them. That's my hope. The other thing I'm doing is I'm creating an online course as well to help people. And I just finished, which I'd like to offer your audience, if that's okay. I finished a
Of course.
Discover Your Purpose workbook. And the reason why I did that, so let me go back for a second. One of the other reasons I wanted to be an entrepreneur is because I don't really believe that an adult should be told what to do by another adult being a boss. Okay. That bothers me to no end. So, yes, I want to do well in my job, but I don't want to be, I don't want another adult to tell me, okay, you have to start at this time, you have to finish at this time. No, you cannot take a 5 minute, you know, break here. You cannot do this. You cannot go to an appointment. You can't. I don't want to live in these limits and these boundaries.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I feel like I'm not free, like I'm caged in. Um, so my hope is to move to full-time entrepreneurship. But until then, I'm going to work my, you know, my tush off, right? So, but it's all about purpose. You know, when I got back from Guatemala, I remember sitting at my desk job and looking out the window and going, what are they doing over there right now? You know, it's only a 4 hour flight. Like if I left now, you know, just went at lunchtime and didn't come back and just flew over there, I could be there by, you know, 12 o'clock tonight. Like that, I kept thinking, oh, when am I going back? When am I going back? And I was just like, I can't. I got to sit here till 5 o'clock. I can't go anywhere. You know, it was so constricting. And I didn't really, although I love my job and I love the people that I work for, they're genuinely beautiful people. Um, I feel empty. It's not my purpose. It's not the reason. So that's part of why I created this workbook, Discover Your Purpose, because I think it's important. I think as kids, you know, when we play and we're happy and we don't have to sit there as a child, you know, and say, hey, what do I want to do? What makes me happy? We just do it. You know, we just know, we gravitate to all the things that we love to do. You don't need to remind a child to be happy and have fun and play, you know. And then we become older and responsibilities come, we have families, we have to go to work, all these things happen, and we forget what we enjoy. So in the last couple of years, I've been rediscovering a lot of the things that mean something to me. I've been learning more about myself. I've been learning about why I like the things that I like, or maybe I've forgotten some things. So that's what the whole purpose of the workbook is. It's to kind of like ignite all the things um, that bring you comfort, that bring you joy, that bring you peace, that really define you. And then the next step would be connecting that. And what can you do with that that not only makes you happy, but also can impact other people in the world? And how can you help with the gifts that you have? So I really would like people to know that even if you don't have anxiety, even if you don't have depression, if you're not grieving, even if you don't suffer from anything, mental health related, that we all have a story. It doesn't have to be around mental health. For me, it was, but we all have our own story, whether we feel lonely, whether we don't feel good enough, whether, we don't love ourselves enough, whatever it is, you will feel better when you start helping other people. And it helps both of you. And, the world needs more people to step up. And for me, I know it was the best therapy for me. And it was the thing that really made me feel better about who I was. It's okay to say, you know, growing up, I was never really taught to say good things about yourself. Be kind to others, give to others, which is great. Um, but we need to learn how to feel better about ourselves. Some people say, oh, it's conceited, or, don't think so highly of yourself. It's not really, you know what I mean, right? Like, it's just, and it's so untrue, because if you don't feel good about yourself, you can't help anybody else. So that's what the podcast is about.
You have to love yourself. That's
Yeah.
that's what you have in order to give. You have to love yourself. So, because you don't, how can you have the capacity to give?
Yeah.
You know,
And
and
when you hate yourself, you don't get up in the morning. You have no hope. You feel there's nothing to look forward to. There's so many things that are detrimental, when that happens. So it's hard for people to do that. It's so much easier to hear somebody say, "Oh, you're not good enough," or, "You're dumb," or "Why can't you go to university," or whatever. It's so easy to believe things people tell you and say those things to yourself, and then your identity goes to the pits.
well, it's also a society thing, right?
Yes.
How many times have we hear no by the
Mm.
time that we're 5 years old? I think it's in the thousand, right? And in corporation, we only hear, so I believe it's 25,000 times that we hear no by the age of 5,
Wow.
compared to 7,500 or yes.
And
That's a big difference.
yes, and without an explanation. So it's
Yes.
like, why? Because I said so. Well, that's not good enough. When my son was growing up, I'd always give him a choice. I would say, instead of saying, like, what do you want to do right now? I would say, do you want to do this or do you want to do this? And people are like, he's 5, 6 years old. Why are you giving him a choice? I said, he shouldn't have a choice at that age. And I'm like, you should just do what you say. And I hate that, because for me, I wasn't given a choice. So I always felt like I didn't have a say. I didn't have, so I wanted to give him that.
Me
It
too.
backfired a little bit later. It did backfire a little later, because then it was like, he comes up with a new choice, or he's a very good negotiator. But, but, I feel like we need to hear
But
each
that's a
other, and
skill
we
to
need to
have.
learn. Yes, it's
Yes, that's a
true.
skill that you need to build. Because everything in life is a negotiation. Starting with your child,
True. Yeah.
you know, uh,
It's,
so it's something that we need to learn. We need to learn how to stand up for ourselves. And
yes.
that's a negotiation in itself, a negotiation with yourself.
Yes. And because we don't give ourselves, we don't say it's okay to love ourselves. It's like, no, that's kind of weird. Like, why would I spend time and do, I'm here to do things for other people. And although I love to give, and we do that a lot in my family, it's so important to not get burnt out. It's so important to not take all the world's problems on, because it's very emotional. You can get very invested. You do need to protect yourself as well. So I think it's a fine balance. You do need to take care of yourself, like you said, Niurka, because if you don't, you're not going to have anything left. You know, you
Well,
give. You can't.
there's you can give, and it's good to come from a place of giving. um but you come from a scarcity mindset. You need to come from abundance, you don't need to come from a scarcity.
Mhm.
So you need to be able to give, but protect yourself as well,
Yeah.
because otherwise you cannot
Yeah.
keep on giving.
Yeah. And there was a day I kind of fell apart when I was in Guatemala and I was alone and I was back at our Airbnb and we had electricity and we had food in the fridge and I'm just like, wow, we're so rich in this country right now, being here. And then in the morning we go out there and see the real Guatemala. And I felt so guilty, and I felt like all this, like I'm not doing enough, like all this pressure. And I kind of, I cried, I like bawled like a baby because I was like, I just need to do more. I need to do more. And, I had to take myself aback. And somebody there actually told me, because I told them about how I was feeling. And one of the ladies who, a Mayan family, she said to me, don't feel guilty that you were born in a well-off country. She goes, just like I didn't choose to be born here, you didn't choose to be, you shouldn't feel guilty. But when you do go back home, please tell people that when they come, we want to learn from them.
Yeah.
They don't, yeah, they don't feel jealousy. They don't feel, there was not one person with a frown. There was not one person that looked miserable. I asked about bullying, it doesn't exist. The kids who are fortunate enough to go to school are so happy to be there. Most of them are thriving. And yeah, it's just a reminder, and they love themselves. You talk to these women and they don't feel, and it's funny because a lot of these cultures too, the men are very dominating, right? When you go to these
Yes.
countries. But even then, the women are having more of a voice and they don't feel subdued, like they don't feel lower. They just, they're, they still have the confidence. They still know that their place is important in the family. It's not like they forget who they are. They still have their identity, the ones that I met. So, you have to have respect for them because they work so hard. Like the men work very hard as well. But I was really paying attention to the women, and they were teaching the children how to love themselves and how to be kind to each other and all the beautiful things that we all want for ourselves. So I loved that. I loved seeing that. It was beautiful.
That's amazing. Got a question.
Yeah.
How, so out of all the countries, why do you choose Guatemala?
It kind of chose me in a way, to be honest with you. I've always wanted to go to a third world country, and I was a little bit afraid. I didn't know. I thought, well, you have to, raise a lot of money. You have to plan for a long time. You have to, come up with an idea. You have to do this. You have to do that. And then when I was kind of starting to heal myself, and I started playing more music and I started doing all these things, I was more open.
Mhm.
The first day I met so I work with physicians. The first day I met a new doctor to the practice. She says, my name is so and so. Nice to meet you. And I said, hi. And she was supposed to start that day. And instead she said, oh, I'm going to start in a couple of weeks because I'm going to Guatemala. And I said, Oh my God. I said, you're the lady I've been waiting for all this time. I said, can I come? And I didn't even remember her name. Like I just had met her. She's my new boss. She walks inside and I'm like, okay, I don't know what you're doing there. I don't know, but can I come? And she was like, oh my God, sister, yes, you can come, right? So we're like, okay, we'll work out the details later. I'll see you in a couple weeks. Have a good trip. Trip got canceled. She was going on a medical mission trip. It kind of fell apart, got canceled. Um, we started to plan a trip about 6 months later. The volcano blew up. We couldn't go. The volcano erupted. All these people had to flee their homes, and it was just a mess. So we couldn't go. The company, the company that was funding all the medical shut down. They didn't have funding because the volcano blew up. They had to leave. So not only was there no medical doctors there right now, there was nobody allowed to go in and out. I was so sad. I was like, come on, we need to go. I finally found somebody because I was afraid to go alone. I wanted to go with someone who had been before. A year later, she says, they're rebuilding over there. I think we can actually go now. But she says, I don't really have a reason to go because the medical stuff is still shut down. And I said, how about if I create a reason to go? And she said, perfect. She said, so instead of you coming with me, I will support whatever it is you want to do. So I said, okay. I said, give me 24 hours. I went home. I sat down my family and I said, hey, do you remember that trip I wanted to do to Guatemala and how it fell apart? And they said, yes. And it was just supposed to be me and my son. This time it ended up that the three of us went and I said, what do you think about this? And they were like, absolutely. The next day I went to my boss and I said, okay, we're doing a music program. This is when I want to go. Can you join us? I'll get you some shirts. I'll get you, let's do this. Right. And she's like, sure. I don't know what that looks like, but we'll come, And we went down and we met more people and more people and more people. And they came to support our idea. And it was very successful. They asked us to come back again. And yeah, I think I would have made it there eventually, but this was a good push in the right direction.
When it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
Yeah. And you know what? For people that are listening to your show that maybe are trying to find their purpose and trying to find, maybe they're interested in creating their own project, something like this, you can do anything. If you do quilting, you can go down and do a group and teach them, how to do quilting. It could be anything. You're good with your hands. You could build, there's so many people that need to build a kitchen and build this and build that. And I want people to know a few things. So when you do a mission trip, you don't have to be associated with a church. So I'm Catholic, but I didn't do this through my church. I'm not a practicing Catholic. I do believe in God, but I'm not as involved maybe as I used to be. So I don't want that to hold people back. We all believe in what we believe in, and anybody can create their own, as long as you have it in your heart and you have an idea and you have a purpose. Sometimes people won't do it because it takes a long time to plan. In 3 months, I had my tickets. I had learned a little Spanish and learned the ukulele. I had written a song in Spanish, a welcoming song, from Canadians to Guatemalans and Mayan families. And we had sung that song. I had made all the connections that I needed while working 80 hours a week. So it's not that difficult to do. Some people hold back because of money. We paid our way there, we paid our way back, and you can stay there for very cheap. The rest of the money, we just asked friends and family, can you donate? Can you donate something? We bought the instruments and we went. It does not have to be difficult. And even though, I used to think it's only music, I didn't bring them anything special, but somebody told me they said, maybe to you it's not a big deal, but for them it's like completely, there's this family coming from another part of the world, and like these children were so young, they're all preschool. And now I understand that, I have a picture of me with this little boy. Um, and it's not a nice picture of me. Like my hair's sweaty. I've got this braid thing through it that's sticking out. But when I came home and I was looking through my pictures and I saw this photo and I started to cry because something about that picture, like I looked at it and I said, that's how I want to feel the rest of my life. The way I felt in that moment in that picture. And I have that picture with me every day. And I have it on Facebook, like it's my first picture. And it's just the human connection, So I don't want people to be held back because they think it costs too much or it's difficult to do. I think it's important that maybe take one of your vacations as a family and go somewhere where you could learn the culture and you could help people, and in your own way, find something that connects your own family. It doesn't have to be anything huge, but the impact that you leave behind and the way you feel when you come back is huge, and it'll change the way you think. It'll change how you decide to do things. It'll change your gratitude. It'll change so many things. And for me, it helped my anxiety. It helped my everything. It helped everything. Gave me a reason to get up in the morning. So
I,
that's my message, really. That's all.
I that's a beautiful message. I believe in it. You know,
I know
it's
you've been all over the world. I mean,
yes, it's something that
little things
it just
sometimes.
it just open your eyes to different cultures, different ways that people live. Um, just because you believe something doesn't make it right for everybody else.
Mm.
Um, because they grow up a different way and they have different custom. Don't make them wrong. It's right for them.
And respect that it's different.
And
Absolutely.
and you can disagree. I think that's something we forgot today. That it's okay to disagree with each other. You can still respect each other
Mhm.
opinions. Um, so yes, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful message.
Thank you. I just feel my dad was a musician, and and my son is a musician, and I just feel the connection, between him and my son. And before my dad died, he said to me, we had an up and down relationship. It was not smooth sailing. But he said to me, even if I wasn't your father, I would want to be your friend because you had a good heart. And I never felt that about myself. So it's almost that I want to live up to what he thought of me. I really do. And I used to be made fun of because, I'm a very emotional person. So, you could see how I feel based on the way I look, like instant. I don't hide it, except for when my father died. I hid it for a long time. Um, and I used to hide, during that time, I hid the way that I felt. But now I want to celebrate my heart because I think that's one of the best things about me. And if I had said that 3 years ago, I'd be like, wow, that's pretty conceited. But the more you love yourself and the more you accept yourself and you learn from difficult things that happen in your life, the more permission you give yourself to be like, yeah, why do I have to hide those things about myself? Like, get to know yourself better, find out what you like to do, and share those gifts with other people, because you don't know, that one smile, you don't know, you could be smiling to a stranger and coming up to somebody that you've never met before, and just that one, how are you? That person could be, you know, person could be wanting to not live another day because something horrible has happened to them. And just that distraction of you interacting with them just for a moment might be enough of a distraction that they turn around and be like, just forget for a second. We don't know what kind of impact we have. We don't see these things play out in the future. You just don't know. You don't know Even buying a coffee for somebody or giving somebody $1. Maybe that person couldn't buy milk for their kids. You don't know. You don't know the series of events that happened because of one insignificant thing that you thought of doing. That, one of my things that I say, Neurika, is kindness doesn't cost anything.
Right.
Love is free. I feel like, and I have a lot of military friends. I haven't been in the military. You are a
Better.
seasoned veteran, yes, and I appreciate everything and all your years of service and selflessness. And I don't know
Thank
if you
you.
agree. Yeah, I don't know if you agree, but I think if people were to travel more to places that may feel a little scary, that places that wouldn't be your typical vacation spot, I think there would be more peace because I think people could see how similar, even though there's so many differences, how similar we really are. And I think if we could do that, it would be one huge step to getting more peace in the world, more acceptance, less judgment. Because honestly, face to face with these women that are, 4 feet tall and are carrying these huge things on their backs. And here I am, 5'4", 230 pounds. I have to tell you the truth, I'm not a small woman. And I'm not strong like that. I'm not, it's just, it left me with a lot of respect and it left me with less excuses.
But it's, there's so much difference that you can make. And sometimes when you go to poor countries, your dollar, the same dollar that you make in your country, it has a multiplier effect in that country. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I forgot the name, but there was this financial banker that he gave loans of 5,000. I believe it was in India,
Mm.
um, to the housewife. They
You know how
make
much
a
you could do with
business.
that? Yes.
They make a business, and it becomes one of the most successful financial institutions. It gave like to a little town 5,000 loans. They make so much money out of that,
Yes. So much impact.
so much impact, and just one loan of 5,000.
That's why those companies that do the micro loans in these countries, they're amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, with $5,000, you can feed like it services like a whole village eventually. Like it's amazing. This family that we're sponsoring there, $50 is food for a month. 50 US dollars. And
Oh
here
my
we'll buy
goodness.
you a pizza. And then we still want the chicken wings to go with it. And
I
it's
grew.
okay. It's okay to want things. It's okay to live the way that we live, but share. But be aware of these things so that, if you are an entrepreneur, like and you start to make money and you're passionate about something, give 1% back, give 10% back. Find something that you're passionate about because honestly, it will make you those days that you're tired and you feel frustrated and you're not going anywhere, that's going to pull you through.
Yes.
To make you keep going in your business. It's going to make you see the big picture because it's not about us. It's about the people we want to help.
And that's what we pull strength from, right? The good memories, the memories that make us shine. We don't want to dwell on the bad memories. We want to take that power away from them.
Mm,
So you need to replenish your energy. Um, and that's a way to do it. That's a very good way to do it, by giving back and building a story about that
mm.
you can look back. Because at the end, we don't take money, we don't take anything. We take our deeds, what we did, and our memories. That's all we take.
That's it.
You know.
That's it. And when my dad died, I realized, people say all the time, life is short, life is short. It's just like when we say, I love you. Like, so we don't think of the words anymore, you know? Life is short. We just say it. And when somebody you know and you're seeing them disappear through
Yes.
skin and bones and see them disappear and the suffering, and then when they die, it's like, that's it, it's over, it's done. Like there's, it's so anticlimactic. Like your life is all about, you know, and then that moment, it's like, that's it.
Yeah.
And it can happen at any time. And I'm not trying to, you know, sound morbid here, and I'm not trying to, but until I realized that and until I believed that and changed the way that I thought, my anxiety was so high. I couldn't deal with my regular pressures. You know, I couldn't deal with, like, I would feel like people would come behind me and be like choking me. I kept turning around because I couldn't swallow. I couldn't, I felt panicky all the time. Like I couldn't see straight. There's so many things. And it's, for me, you know, for other people, it might be something else. But for me, um, these are some of the things that really helped me. And I'm very grateful, you know, but there are things that I had to do and work on, and it didn't just happen overnight, you know. And so if I can help other people get to live the life that they want as opposed to what they have to do, you know, something that means something, because that's what we're here for, you know. Yes, we need to work, we need to pay the bills, we need to, but I think money divides us a lot too. You know, it puts us in different categories, it creates hate, it does this, it does that. So I don't think God meant for us to just be here and work, 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 work. I think there's more to life, you know?
Well, we had to look at money as what it is, a
Mm.
tool.
Yes,
It's just that.
exactly.
It's a tool. It doesn't have any power. It's not good or bad. The power that it has is what you give them.
Yes.
So, so you can do a lot with it, a lot of good, or you can do a lot of bad. So you have to choose.
And you know,
And
there's enough money to go around so that there's no starving people in the world, you know? We're
yeah,
not there yet. There's enough food and enough of everything in the world um to share, you know?
you definitely need to.
Yeah, so that's my hope. My hope is that people will just connect with themselves because, you know, a few years ago, I didn't think this way, even though we still gave to the homeless and even though we still did all these things. Um, my message is more about until you love yourself and until you're okay with not being okay and that you know you're not alone, you know, until you get out of that state, it is our responsibility to help ourselves feel better. You know, I used to think, I've got all these people around me who love me, but why can't anybody see how sad I am? Why can't anybody reach out to me? But they were, you know, I just didn't recognize it. I didn't see it. And it wasn't until I took responsibility for myself and said, hey, I don't want to live like this anymore. I can't do this anymore. That's when I started to change, you know? So it's, yeah, life is funny, you know? But that's the long read. You asked me before we started taping why I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And, you know, I want to take control of my life and I want to make my time here matter between the beginning and the end because we just don't know. And there's nothing more important to me than that. So I want to dedicate my time, you know? So hopefully I can do it full time because it's really what I want to do. And I'm meeting these incredible people through my show and people like you. And I know you've, you know, your
Thank
audience
you.
to listen to your interview on my show because it's so valuable. I'm talking about all the things we should know about entrepreneurship, and I loved having you on.
Thank you. Appreciate it. The same to you.
Thank
I
you.
think your story is so powerful. And can inspire so many people that want to start their own journey. They want to find the purpose and the why. And sometimes they lack the know-how and the courage,
Mm.
So, and
Yeah. One of my mentors, his name is Brian Lafremento, and he taught me something. he started the Entrepreneur to Entrepreneur community. I don't know if you know him, but he's such a genuinely loving person. And his mom used to tell him, he tells us, time passes anyway. So whether you choose to do nothing during these times of COVID, or whether you choose to start a podcast like I did, or start a community, reach out to an elderly person who is lonely, whether you are miserable about it every day, or whether you decide this is a new opportunity, let me think of my priorities. In a year's time, it still will be a year's time. So time will pass anyways. So how are you going to be different a year from today? So that's something that he says all the time that I absolutely live by now. You know, it aligns with what how I feel.
That's great. I think we all need to move forward,
Mm.
you know, and be propelled by the good kind of energy. The alignment. We need the alignment to survive. We need the alignment to live well. Whatever make you balance in your life. Um,
You know, we all have bad days too. Like if we do fall back, it's okay. Just don't stay there. Just recognize it and forgive yourself for it. Don't be angry about it, and then just keep going. You know, it's okay. Like I know I go back all the time. I have days where I'm like, oh, I just don't, you know, it's miserable. I'm tired. You know, there's a snowstorm outside. I don't want to get out of bed. And I'm like, what was my plan for today again? And I'm like, oh yeah, I was going to do this and start creating this. And this is who I'm doing it for. And then I'm like, I got to get up. I got things to do, you know? And it's just a gentle reminder. If we keep the reason why we're doing it always in the front, it will help no matter what. Because I mean, I have a lot of days where I got to get myself going, you know, but it's so worth it.
it is. It feeds your soul.
Yes. And honestly, I've had a lot of fabulous moments in my life, but I don't think I've ever been as happy as I have been the last couple of years. And compared to how I felt before, that says a lot, to be honest with you. So it's just everything, it feels, and it's not because I'm making a lot of money. It's not, I'm new at this. It's not because I'm getting any recognition, because I'm not. It's not because, you know, it's just because it feels right. It feels like I'm no longer hiding. It feels like I'm being seen. I'm being validated. My message is out there. It's gaining momentum. So that's all I want. I want people to continue, you know, and just do the same thing. Like, and you don't have to do it in the same way. You don't do, you know, take 5% of maybe something that you learned during this show from Neurika or from me, and reach out to us if you need, you know, if you have any questions. Like, I love to answer people's questions. Take 5% of that and create your own. This isn't about following somebody else. It's about finding what it is that makes you get up in the morning.
Yes, it's using the tools.
Yeah. And if there isn't something, create something, learn something new. It can be so exciting.
That's what make it fun.
Yes. Because, man, I tell you, those 12 years, I don't wish that on anybody. I was miserable. Nobody wanted to be around me. Like, I was not protecting myself. I was making things bigger and bigger and bigger, you know, and had I had just started healing from the beginning, I would have been so much better off. But, you know, things happen for a reason. And here I am. And I know my dad's thinking about me and I think about him, and keep going, right?
Yeah, that's all we can do. You know that it's so true. You have so much. Um, you know, your message resonate with me
Does it?
a lot, and I believe it resonates with a lot of audience. You know, I used to work. I used to work a regular job. You know, about 8-10 hours, and I remember I would look at the clock in the morning and the clock in the afternoon, just counting the hours until I was done.
You're
And the
wishing your
only way,
life away, right?
exactly.
You wish
And the
away
only way,
5 days. Sorry, you wish away 5 days to have 2 days, and not even 2 days, because I don't know about you, but Sunday night I start to get like, oh my God, it's Monday. Like after 4 o'clock on Sunday, I'm like, oh, it's 4 o'clock already.
yeah, you start grumpy on Monday. It gets better by Wednesday, and and by Friday you are dancing until Sunday night that you're already back in the mood. It's the same cycle every day,
Oh,
and you're counting hours, counting, looking for the break because you're not
and you're
living your
tired.
purpose.
And you're
Yes.
exhausted because you don't enjoy what you're doing. When you go on a holiday, right? So I haven't been to a lot of resorts. I've been to like one resort. I've done some cruise ship trips, and that's about it. And when you go, like when you stay on the resort, I'm not a beach person, but when you go to a resort, it's like you feel relaxed, you don't want to come back from vacation. You come back, you're like, oh.
You're
But
on vacation for the vacation.
yes. But when I went to Guatemala, it was so much more than that. It wasn't like, oh my God, I'm on a vacation. It didn't feel like that. It felt like 100 times better. Like it felt 100 times more relaxing. I still went down to the near the volcanoes. We still did all the fun stuff. But it's like I was up hours earlier than I've ever been up on vacation. I was in bed later than I've ever been. You know what I mean? Like everything was like amplified. I wanted to not waste one moment of when I was there. And I had more energy than I had ever had. I everything. I'm a smoker, and which is terrible, and I need to quit smoking, but I didn't smoke as much. I didn't drink while I was down there. It was all about filling myself with everything. I don't know. And it wasn't like I had to think about it. Things just happen. And I never felt scared. I always felt safe. It was like I felt from the moment I got there, like I started to cry on the plane. Um, we had to transfer. So we went from Toronto to Dallas, and then Dallas to Guatemala City. And when we did the transfer, when we were in Dallas, and I sat there, and my husband is like, and I'm terrified of flying. Oh my God. Like, you do not want to be next to me on an airplane. Okay. So my husband doesn't really like it either. My son's like, ooh. And I was sitting there, and I started to cry, and I was kind of hiding it. And he's like, uh-oh. He goes, is it the plane? And I said, no. I said, it's finally happening. Like, I've been wanting to do this for so long, and then finally sitting here, and like I was so overcome, and I had no expectations of what I was, scared at first, but as soon as I sat on that transfer, I was like, no matter what happens, it's meant to happen. I'm good. And I got off the plane, and Guatemala City is not the safest city in the world, um, but I got there, and we found our place. It was the middle of the night, and I just felt like this warm embrace, like that's where I was supposed to be. It just, from the moment, it's just, yeah, I don't know.
You find your purpose.
It's just that feeling. And I'm not saying people have to go to Guatemala. That's not my message. My message is just follow what you think you need to do to feel happy, to make your own decision. Don't, just because people say you have to go to school, then you have to get married, then you have to have children in that order. You have to do this, you have to do that. Who says you have to do that? I didn't go to college. I didn't go to university. I'm still okay. Don't base your success on all the things that maybe somebody else has set for you. You can still choose to be a good person. You can still be successful in life and not follow in everybody's footsteps. Like, who says you have to do that? The world is so big, there's so much you can do. Just, I don't want people to feel like they have no reason to get up, because that was me. And I hated it. I hated feeling that I had no reason, no purpose. It did not help me in my mental health at all.
No, because you have to focus on the positive. There's always positive. You just have to find it. Sometimes you have to look really hard.
And it's hard to
Um,
find sometimes, it is, especially if you're suffering from a lot of sadness and loneliness and things. But that's the more reason to do it. Ask for help. Ask somebody to help you figure it out. Um, don't take 12 years to make that change you need to make. And of course it's scary, but you know what's more scary is doing nothing. I would be in the
Yeah.
same place if I didn't take the time and did the hard work that I did to figure out what I wanted to do.
So power to you.
And and everybody's like, "Oh, you're crazy. What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "It's okay. Keep thinking I'm crazy. If I fail, I feel happy." Like people still think, "What do you think? You're going to make a business out of this?" And all I really want is to make some money so I can make more impact. That's it. And that's being
Um,
totally honest, and have that freedom and have that reason to get up and have that and be able to help. I don't want people to have to go through the same things that I went through and feel alone. I hate that. There's no hope if you feel alone, even though you're surrounded by people. You could be in a party room full of people and still feel completely alone. And it's not because people don't love you and you're not around people that care about you, but sometimes you just don't feel that. I did not feel that I belonged anywhere. So I want my community to be people, they know they have somewhere they can go.
well, yes, you have to find your voice. You have to find your purpose, and you have to take your power back. The people that say I can, that's going back to, when we were 5 years old and we still have all those I cans. Um, they don't define you. You define yourself. You have to do that. And you look at history, and I found it fascinating. You look at all the inventions. Who said that a slinky toy will be a business, a millionaire business? A
Hmm.
pet stone
The whoopee
will be a
cushion.
business. Rock, yeah, a rock, a pet rock, a pet rock. Hello, it took a rock, they painted a face, put in a box. That's it. That was the whole business.
Or those little
They make
Pez
millions.
machines. Those Pez things? Just,
Um,
you know.
so that's who say that who can say what is right for you by you.
Yeah. It's like people say, "Oh, you're dreaming," and I'm like, "You know what? I hope I never stop."
Yeah,
You
so
know?
you have to set your own terms. You have to set your
And that's why
you
it's
have to take
important.
control of your life.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important. The more you love yourself, the more you know that you're the only one that needs to believe in your idea. Honestly, you know.
And I'm glad that you did. That you
Thank
find your purpose.
it's I feel more peaceful. I don't feel um as afraid as I used to feel. I don't feel that I have to explain myself as much. I don't feel like I feel like I'm living the way that I want to and choosing the things that I want. And I've been, the only thing I'm upset about is that I didn't do it sooner. I wasted all that time and now I'm almost 50, I still got the rest of my life, but
Well, I think we do things at the right time. Probably you would have done it earlier. It wouldn't have the same impact that it did when you needed it. So it's never too late. You know, there's some people that find the purpose when they were 81.
yeah.
So, it's never too late. Age is not a factor. It's just sometimes we're summary of all our experiences, good and bad,
Hmm. Like I
and
wish
every
I
step
could go.
is
Yeah, sorry. I wish I could go to these places and just take away the poverty. I can't do that. Um,
no.
I wish I could go and make sure that war didn't happen. I can't do that either. I can't fix all these world problems. But I really felt that I could connect with people. I could make people feel that they're not alone. I could listen to what they have to say. I could try to help them. That's how I'm hoping to impact, because I know that I won't be able to solve poverty on my own. I can try to educate some of these people on things that they can do to help themselves. But, so yeah, I just want to be clear, because I just feel like there's no movement. If you don't have hope, it stops. Nothing goes from there. You've got to give people hope. You have to give them an idea of what things can be like, because they don't know. When you don't know something and you're living in a certain situation, you don't know what's out there. So I think it's important for us to educate and share ourselves.
Yes, I think it's very important. You know, that's how we connect. That's how we make. Um, when we come from a place of giving, then you become authentic. You become your best self. So it's easier to connect. It's easier to have a conversation. The language barrier goes away because it's about the good that you do it.
Yeah, that's why I love music so much. You don't need to understand it. You just need to feel it, like
The language of the soul.
yeah. And I just, it's funny because when I started doing it, I did it more for other people, but now I do it as much for me as I do for them. And I know that might sound weird, but it's completely honest. Like, I'm just being completely transparent. It heals me a lot, as well as them. So it is my therapy. It is my gift to myself to connect with these people, because they give me so much. Sometimes I think they give me more than what I can give them, but together we make a bond. And I've met some incredible people, and I'm so grateful to have met. And I'm so grateful to have met you, although I am a little jealous because I would rather be in
Same.
Miami. I mean, I love Canada, but right now it's cold. So I would so love to be in a
Oh,
warm climate.
I miss this. I miss the snow, so we can switch for a little bit.
I'm not a snow person.
Probably for a day.
I'm not a snow person, but I enjoyed it when my son was a bit younger, but I don't go skiing and things like that. But I did enjoy, going with him in the snow and pushing him. No, he's 14 now.
I went on a ski trip one time. There was a lot of rollover on the ice and the snow.
I
Not so
went
much
once
ski,
too.
but rollover.
I went once too. Oh my God. I have to tell you the story sometime, but it is so embarrassing. Um, let's just say that it ended with me flipping over and skiing through a construction site because I couldn't stop. And at the bottom, there was a chalet with these two elderly women drinking hot chocolate, and all they saw was my skis on the chalet window, and my legs open like 90-degree angle, and they spilled the hot chocolate or the tea or whatever they were drinking all over themselves, and the bruises that I had. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, it was not a good experience. And when you get on the lift and they take you up the hill and you're supposed to jump off when you get to the top. Yeah, no, I was very, very afraid. So it was like my sixth time going around, and the guy's like, okay, girl, you got to get off. Okay. This was like grade 8, pre-high school. And I'm like, no. So he threw me like this handkerchief thing. And he goes, next time you're getting close, wave it and I'll shut the whole thing down. We'll stop. But you need to tell me like when you're halfway up the mountain. We'll stop it and then we'll help you off. I'm like, okay. So I'm, waving this thing like crazy, right? And I never went up again. And it's terrible because I should do it again because you got to face your fear. So, there's a lesson for me right there. But yeah, my skiing experience was not that great. It's
but
a
you
good
did
story.
it. You did it. Yeah, you had
I need to try it again as an adult. Maybe I'll have more luck. I'm limiting myself now, you see. I'm learning from you.
No, that's like I love that stories actually. That's pretty cool.
Seriously. Anyway, I don't know. There's one more thing I can share with you guys.
Yes, definitely.
For me, my imagery that means something to me is like a bird cage. So I always felt that I was like a bird locked in a cage. And then um, in the last year or so, I realized that the bird cage that I feel like I'm in actually has a latch on the inside. So I don't need for anybody to wait for me, anybody to come and free me from this cage, because I have the opportunity to do it myself. I have the means of getting out, right? So when I started taking responsibility for my own mental health and for all these things, and asking the difficult questions of, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? I realized I can open this. So it did. I have this cage, and I'll actually go and show it to you. Just give me 1 second.
Yes.
So I have this cage. This is what it looks like.
Well,
And my dad was a trumpet player. And so this is from his trumpet, and I keep it in my cage as a reminder. And the latch opens up on the inside. So before, I would feel that this was closed and somebody had to let me out of my misery. And then I realized I don't need to do that anymore. And as soon as it was open and I didn't feel like I had to escape, I just sat in it and I didn't rush out to get out. Do you know what I mean? And that's my imagery for me when I remember how I felt and how I feel now. And I think I want to put that maybe on cover of my book that I'm writing, because it means something to me. We
yes.
don't have to wait for other people to free us. In fact, we shouldn't wait, because people can't read our minds. They can see maybe that we're suffering, but they don't always know how to help us, not because they don't love us. Sometimes we don't even know how to tell them to help us. So we do have to find the strength to help ourselves sometimes to start. Because until we change our attitude and we start loving ourselves, nothing's going to change.
That's so true. And I can see the trees behind you, the birds behind you.
It's very important to me. Yeah.
Yes.
It signifies freedom, you know?
Yes, I believe it. And I feel it.
You're going to make me
So
cry. But yeah, so that's, I don't know. Yeah. If it doesn't mean
there's
anything,
power
I
in
don't
taking our power back.
do it. Yeah. See, that's the difference for me between an entrepreneur and someone who works somewhere. Um, you know, having a job makes me feel the same way as being in that cage. Um,
Yeah.
I know most of us have to do it, and I'm still doing it, and I may have to do it for a lot longer than I wanted to, but it's okay. You can have a side hustle. You can do something on the side, and sometimes you can think, well, 40 hours, after work, I'm just done. But you know what? And you don't have the energy, because I'm tired when I get home. I don't have the energy. But as soon as I do something I love, you find it. It comes. It's just natural. I started doing stained glass last year. And I'm like, oh, before I would be like, I come home, I have dinner, watch TV, go to bed. Every day, the same thing. And it makes you feel so heavy and boring, and every day's the same, and you're 5 years later and it's still the same, and the only way to really get out of that is to try new things, and go back to the time when you were young and think of all the things you love to do. That's when you were innocent and pure and nothing was distracting you from the things that you enjoy. Try new things. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. Move on to the next thing and just get to know yourself a bit better, because it's sure worth it.
Yes, that's so true. That's one of the things that I love about traveling so much.
Mm,
And I was able to do it all around the world. Um,
so
is
awesome.
I but I grew up in a country. I grew up in Cuba,
Mhm.
and they always told us all the way until I left, you can fly, you can go out the island, you can't even go out of the city. So for
Mm.
me, that's taking my power back, being able to do what I want to do in my own terms, and that's just one thing. That's just one simple thing
It's
that
like,
so many
watch
people
me.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Every time somebody says, you're such a dreamer, I don't even tell people anymore. I'm like, if you're
yeah,
not going to support me, then you're not in my circle anymore. You know what I mean? I'm still friends with you. I still love you, but I just don't let people get you down. And it's like, the more people say you can't do it, the more I'm going to say, watch me do it.
exactly. I have a favorite shirt that say, "Tell me that I can do it, so I can prove you're wrong."
Oh, I
That's
love
what.
that. You'll have
That's
to
one
send
of
me one of those.
my. Okay. Well,
I love it.
yeah,
Yeah, I
and
love that.
it's you know show them.
It's like, I'm talking a lot today, and I've been talking a lot on my podcast, but normally, like, if you meet me in person, I'm pretty quiet unless I'm really passionate about something. Like today, I'm passionate about what I'm talking about. And so people have come up to me and said, "You started a podcast? Quiet Nelia? You started a podcast?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm opinionated." And they're like, "Yeah, but you're shy and you're introverted and stuff." And I'm like, yeah, because I have a lot to say, and now I feel better about who I am. I have, I found my voice, and I don't care if I sound funny, or I don't care if I look fun. Like, look at me. I'm not put together, during this interview. It's just me. Don't judge me for what I look like or I sound like, and I'm like, not only did I start it, but it's doing well. And I did it in the middle of a pandemic. And I did it because you thought I couldn't do it,
Exactly.
you know? And I've met,
Yeah.
oh, Neurika, I've met the most incredible people who have trusted me with their stories. And it warms my heart. I've met some, like, all my guests are like my new best friends. Like, honestly, I don't know if you have the same connection. You probably do with your guests, and
Yes.
people just, you have a friend forever because they're trusting you with these, with their heart and their stories. And it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell some of these stories. Um, and I appreciate it so much.
Yes. And I think that's the power of starting your own podcast, your YouTube channel, or whatever you want to start.
Yeah, exactly.
Just having a conversation, having a conversation. That's just it's building bridges, right? That's what
Mhm.
we're doing. We're building bridges. It doesn't matter that you're in Canada and here in Miami. We're having a bridge in between us,
I know.
having
Like,
a conversation.
it's beautiful because I was talking to a girl in Singapore and Australia last week, and it was like midnight for them. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. She's like, don't apologize. I'm so happy that we can, different cultures. She was talking about a typhoon that hit her, and how she survived. And it's just like, it's free. It's free to connect like this. When I was growing up, there was, it was Commodore 64. There wasn't Skype. There wasn't Zoom. There wasn't any of these things. It's so easy for us to learn about each other on the other side of the world. And the more I interview people from other countries, the more I see that we're so the same. The world is not as big as we think.
No,
We all
no.
want the same thing. We want health, enough money so that we, have our roof over our head, and our kids are healthy, and love. We all just want to be accepted. That's it.
It's that we have what we used to call luxuries items now are just common items.
Yes.
How good is to have a Portuguese wine when it's time for dinner, and it only costs you a couple bucks. Well, before, well, like you have to go to Portugal to drink it.
Yeah.
I still want to do that, but
It's so true. My
you
mom
know,
and I were talking. Yeah. And she said, when I was your age, I have to write my mom a letter. Like, she
Mhm.
came to Canada at 17 and she didn't see her mom for 20 years, but they had to write letters. And telephone was too expensive. And she's like, how easy it is. I just call you, you pick it up in your car, you can see me, you can, You know, it's incredible, incredible. But so many countries are still without, and they're
Yeah,
still surviving, you know?
I
So,
remember.
mhm.
I don't know if they could read my handwriting, but I wrote a couple letters. And it would take a month to get there. So by the time they got it, the news was gone. Just imagine you giving some urgent news.
It's true. It's so true. Can you imagine that now? Like with Facebook and everything, it's like instant, you know? Oh,
Yeah,
but in some ways, it's not as good because people don't have as much patience because everything is so instant at their fingertips, you know?
8 seconds. That's the
Yeah.
attention span.
Crazy. So it has its pros and its cons, you know? But making an impact in the world, I think, has never been as easy as it is now because there's resources and things are available. And yeah, so my message is just go out there, find your way, find your own way. Don't let anybody tell you you can't do it. Don't let anybody tell you that um, you're not bright enough, that you're not smart enough, that you don't have enough money, that you don't have enough knowledge, that you don't have, don't let anybody tell you that. And don't tell yourself, because we're the worst ones.
Yes.
Don't tell yourself that, everybody to me is on an equal playing field. And we're all here just to live our time together, live it out as best we can.
Uh, I believe that as well. I believe that nobody's better than you. You're not better than nobody else. Um, Better than us is the ground, right? We step on it every single day,
Mm.
every single day. The dirt that we sit on, and that's where we end up. So just imagine why you have to compare with your chapter 3 to chapter 20 for somebody else.
No.
You're writing your story, and you are the actor
Yeah, you're
and
the
the writer of
star.
that story.
And
So you just
how boring would it be if we were all the same? Oh my
yeah.
God, it would be such a boring world, honestly. Um, yeah, let's celebrate our differences and our similarities. Let's be happy for each other. Let's be there when things aren't going well. Let's be there too. During those times. It's
But
nice to have people to celebrate with, but it's so important to have people to just support you when things are not going well as well.
I believe that the diversity that we have as human beings, you know, it's not about races. That's just an invented term anyway.
Mm.
Um, it's about the diversity that we have, all the different cultures, all the different language, all the different um, everything that we bring in. That's what makes us so different, and that's what makes us survive. Right? Look at the cheetahs. Naturally, they're disappearing because their DNA is it doesn't have the enough variety. So that's what you see. A lot of them are coming out with the eyes are like what you say that word, viscous, like the eyes are cross eyes.
Oh,
They
okay.
have a mutation, and it's not something that we did for a change. It wasn't our fault. It
Interesting.
was they run out and they don't have enough variation in the DNA. So now they have mutations. So eventually they will become extinct. So we need to celebrate your diversity because that's what makes us human.
Yeah.
That's what makes us rich.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we're all going to have pains and situations that are difficult. And what's difficult for me is different for you, and there's no timeline. Let everybody do things in their own time. Everybody is different. Everybody feels in different ways, in different degrees. Just don't judge
Yes.
people.
No, don't judge yourself neither.
Yes, that's right. And if you do, just catch it. You know,
Yeah.
we're not perfect. Just catch it and do better next time. Just keep going. I keep looking at those palm trees behind you and I'm like, oh, I got to come out to Miami.
Yeah. That's a good thing about Miami. So, well, it was definitely a pleasure to have you as a guest. You have a very powerful story.
Oh, thank
Uh, so I'm glad to be able to share it and honor. And, you know, anytime you want to come back and, when your book comes out, let us know. Definitely, I can't wait to read it.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate it. And you have an open invitation too, anytime you want to come back on my show as well. Thank you
Right.
so much. I really enjoyed, Saturday night chatting with you. And there's no place I'd rather be right now than talking to you, because I just feel like we have this connection. Um, yeah, I don't know. Just
Oh,
feel,
maybe in the future we do something together. Maybe start
yeah,
another podcast show.
sounds good. Do you like coffee? Because I'm like a coffee addict.
I love coffee. That's
Oh, well,
one of my passions.
maybe we'll meet for coffee one day, even if it's virtual. We'll just hang out for coffee.
That's actually perfect. I've been thinking of doing that. Having a cup of coffee, enjoy and talk.
Yeah,
Use that.
that's
Talk
it.
about anything. Just talk.
That's what I was
Just have,
thinking of doing with all my guests. Just have like a virtual party and just chat.
yeah. So easy that way.
Mhm.
Mm,
You'll be
okay.
included.
I'll do that anytime.
No, thank you. This was amazing, and yeah, just yeah. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I'm not very comfortable. I don't feel very comfortable in front of a video camera, but I feel comfortable because I'm talking to you. You made me feel comfortable, so thank you.
Well, thank you. And you did wonderful. You did.
It's just I lose myself sometimes, and sometimes I talk too much because I lose myself in my feelings. So
And that's what people need to remember that
you don't have to be
oh,
perfect.
no, you have to be imperfect and perfectly imperfect. Uh, I got tongue to
Perfectly. It's hard to say.
imperfectly perfect. There you go.
I stumbled on that yesterday, that word. Yeah.
Yeah, but just be you, and just push yourself out a little bit every single day.
And
Just
let yourself out of your own cage. Don't wait for people
yes,
to let you out. Save yourself.
definitely, definitely.
Teach others to do the same.
All right. Well, thank you.
Have a great night. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you.